Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor was born on April 21, 1926, in London, to the Duke and Duchess of York, who later became King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. At the time of her birth, Elizabeth was never expected to be queen, since her uncle Edward VIII was next in line. Her childhood was relatively quiet and modest by royal standards, but her upbringing was disciplined and rooted in Christian values, duty, and a strong moral compass. Privately educated by tutors, Elizabeth studied history, literature, religion, and constitutional law. Known affectionately as Lilibet by her family, she showed an unusual seriousness, composure, and sense of responsibility even as a child. These qualities, combined with her close bond with her parents and younger sister Princess Margaret, laid the foundation for a life of extraordinary service. What seemed like an ordinary royal childhood would soon transform into the preparation of Britain's longest reigning monarch. The year 1936 forever changed Elizabeth's destiny. Following the death of King George V, the throne passed to his eldest son, Edward VIII. However, less than a year later, Edward abdicated in a scandal to marry Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee. This crisis shocked the world and forced Elizabeth's father to ascend as King George VI. At just 10 years old, Elizabeth became heir presumptive to the British throne. The sudden shift placed immense expectations on her young shoulders. While the public and press speculated about the monarchy's stability, Elizabeth's life transformed into a journey of careful grooming for future leadership. From then on, her education became more formal and focused on constitutional affairs, history, and preparation for public duty. This unexpected twist of fate marked the beginning of Elizabeth's path toward becoming one of the most iconic rulers in modern history. When World War II erupted, Elizabeth was still a teenager, but she refused to remain a passive royal. At the age of 18, she joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service, where she trained as a driver and mechanic. She learned to repair trucks, change tires, and operate heavy vehicles, becoming the first female member of the royal family to serve actively in the armed forces. Photographs of the young princess in khaki uniform, hands smudged with oil, quickly captured public admiration. At a time when the nation needed symbols of courage and resilience, Elizabeth's decision resonated powerfully with ordinary citizens. Her wartime service highlighted her sense of duty and her willingness to share in the hardships of her people. It was here that Elizabeth began cementing her image as not just a royal figurehead, but as a leader willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with her people during their darkest hour. In 1947, Elizabeth married Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark, a naval officer she had met as a teenager. Their marriage, lasting over 73 years, became one of the most enduring royal unions in modern history. The couple faced challenges from the very beginning, as Philip had to give up his Greek and Danish titles, adopt the surname Mountbatten, and adjust to life as the consort of a future queen. Yet their bond remained strong, rooted in mutual respect, loyalty, and affection. Together they raised 4 children: Charles, Anne, Andrew, and Edward. Philip's humor and unwavering support provided Elizabeth with stability and companionship during her reign. Behind the public image of formality, theirs was a partnership built on love and resilience, a rare anchor in the turbulent seas of monarchy. For Elizabeth, Philip was not just a husband, but her strength and stay. In February 1952, Elizabeth's life changed forever. While visiting Kenya with Prince Philip, she received the devastating news that her father, King George VI, had passed away. At only 25 years old, she was now Queen Elizabeth II. Her coronation, held in June 1953 at Westminster Abbey, was a landmark event, not only for Britain but for the world. For the first time in history, the ceremony was broadcast live on television, watched by millions across the globe. The sight of the young queen, crowned with the imperial state crown and holding the orb and scepter, symbolized the continuity and endurance of the monarchy during a rapidly changing era. Though still young and inexperienced, Elizabeth embraced her role with dignity and grace. Her promise to devote her entire life to service, made in her famous 21st birthday speech, now became the guiding principle of her reign. Over the course of her reign, Queen Elizabeth II worked with 15 British prime ministers, beginning with Winston Churchill and ending with Liz Truss. Her ability to remain neutral in politics while providing wise counsel behind the scenes established her as a stabilizing force in turbulent times. From the economic struggles of the 1970s to the global challenges of the 21st century, the Queen projected calm authority. She became a symbol of continuity for her people, someone who transcended party politics and embodied national unity. World leaders, from presidents to popes, sought audiences with her, acknowledging her unique position as both a constitutional monarch and a global figure. Through decades of social and cultural change, her steady presence reassured citizens that some things, tradition, duty, and service, would endure. Beyond the United Kingdom, Elizabeth was also the head of state for 14 other nations and the symbolic leader of the Commonwealth, a voluntary association of over 50 countries. Throughout her reign, she visited nearly every corner of the globe, undertaking hundreds of state visits. These journeys were not just ceremonial, they strengthened diplomatic ties and reinforced Britain's global presence. In Australia, Canada, India, and Africa, she was greeted by cheering crowds, often with deep affection. For many, the Queen represented continuity with Britain's past, but also the hope of partnership in a modern, post-colonial world. Her ability to adapt to diverse cultures and connect with ordinary people, whether shaking hands in remote villages or attending grand state banquets, made her one of the most recognizable and respected figures on earth. Though admired by the world, the Queen's personal life was not without turbulence. Her children, Charles, Anne, Andrew, and Edward, brought both pride and pain. The marriages of Charles and Diana, as well as Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, ended in messy divorces that played out publicly. Prince Andrew's later scandals further tested the monarchy's reputation, while Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's decision to step back from royal duties created fresh controversy. Despite these challenges, Elizabeth remained steadfast, rarely allowing private struggles to overshadow her public role. She projected resilience, maintaining the dignity of the crown while quietly managing family crises behind palace walls. For many, her composure under pressure only reinforced the sense that she was the monarchy's unshakable anchor. In 1997, tragedy struck with the sudden death of Princess Diana in a car crash in Paris. Public grief was overwhelming, and criticism of the royal family's silence was fierce. For several days, the Queen remained at Balmoral Castle with her grandsons, Prince William and Prince Harry, prioritizing their well-being. But as pressure mounted, she returned to London and delivered a rare live broadcast, paying tribute to Diana as an exceptional and gifted human being. Her words, combined with her decision to lower the Union Jack at Buckingham Palace, helped ease national anger. This moment revealed the Queen's ability to adapt and connect with her people in times of crisis. Though often reserved, she demonstrated compassion and humility, reminding the nation why she remained such a deeply respected figure. For decades, Queen Elizabeth II became a living symbol of Britain itself. Her image waving from the balcony of Buckingham Palace became synonymous with national celebrations, from jubilees to royal weddings. She was present at moments of triumph and tragedy, offering a sense of reassurance that the monarchy remained a constant amid the nation's shifting landscape. To many Britons, she was more than a constitutional monarch. She was a motherly figure, someone who embodied duty, tradition, and stability. Children grew up knowing no other sovereign, and for generations of citizens, she was the only queen they had ever known. The rituals of trooping the colour, her Christmas broadcasts, and her Jubilee appearances bound her into the fabric of everyday national life. Her constancy across decades made her one of the most recognized and beloved public figures in the world. In her later years, the Queen faced profound personal trials. The COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 forced her into isolation at Windsor Castle, yet she reassured the nation in a rare broadcast, declaring, "We will meet again." In 2021, she endured the greatest personal loss of her life, the death of Prince Philip, her husband of 73 years. The image of the Queen sitting alone at his funeral, due to pandemic restrictions, moved the world to tears. Despite declining health and advancing age, she continued to carry out her duties with determination. Even as mobility issues limited her appearances, she remained engaged, reading state papers daily and attending key ceremonies. Her resilience in the face of loneliness and physical decline reinforced the public's admiration, showing that her sense of duty remained unshaken until her final days. In 2022, the Queen marked her Platinum Jubilee, celebrating 70 years on the throne, a milestone no British monarch had ever reached. Across the United Kingdom, the streets erupted with parades, concerts, and fireworks. Millions gathered in London, waving flags and cheering as she appeared on the Buckingham Palace balcony, dressed in light blue, smiling warmly despite her frailty. For many, this was a farewell moment, an opportunity to show gratitude to a monarch who had devoted her entire life to service. The spectacle of the Jubilee demonstrated the deep affection and respect that Elizabeth commanded after 7 decades of leadership. It was not just a celebration of longevity, but of unwavering dedication. Her visible joy during the festivities created one final, lasting memory for her people before the inevitable twilight of her reign. On September 8, 2022, Queen Elizabeth II passed away at Balmoral Castle in Scotland at the age of 96. The news reverberated around the globe, prompting an outpouring of grief. Church bells tolled, flags were lowered to half-mast, and crowds gathered outside royal residences to pay tribute. For Britons, it was the end of an era, the only monarch most of them had ever known. The memento also marked the beginning of King Charles III's reign, symbolizing both continuity and change. Leaders worldwide honored her legacy, describing her as a stateswoman of unmatched wisdom and dignity. Her death left a profound void, not only in Britain but across the Commonwealth and beyond, where she had become a fixture of stability in a world of uncertainty. The funeral of Queen Elizabeth II became one of the most watched events in television history. Millions traveled to London to witness the solemn procession, while billions watched worldwide. Her coffin, draped in the royal standard and adorned with the imperial state crown, was carried through the streets lined with mourners. Soldiers in ceremonial uniforms marched in step, while the sound of bagpipes echoed through Westminster Abbey. Heads of state, dignitaries, and citizens alike came together to honor a life of extraordinary service. It was a farewell not only to a monarch, but to a woman who had been a constant presence in the lives of people around the world. The grandeur and solemnity of the funeral reflected the reverence with which she was held. Queen Elizabeth II's reign spanned over 7 decades, an era of unprecedented change, from the aftermath of World War II to the digital age. She remained a symbol of duty, resilience, and devotion to her people. Known affectionately as the Mother of the Nation, she embodied the values of constancy and sacrifice, guiding Britain through triumphs and crises alike. Her legacy endures not only in the institutions she upheld but in the hearts of those she inspired. She showed the world that monarchy, though ancient, could remain relevant through service, humility, and dedication. Her passing closed a remarkable chapter in history, but her example continues to inspire future generations. Queen Elizabeth will forever be remembered as a leader, a symbol, and above all, a servant to her people.